Hey there, this is Jenny with Planet Perfect, and I am also a homeschooling mom of 8. And today we're going to be talking, it's my homeschooling video. It's my children parent chat. It's my video once a week, at least I'm going to try, to be able to get on here and talk about what I've learned through rearing 8 children, homeschooling them, and what I have come to find. So happy that you're here. Be sure to hit the bell icon and subscribe if you want to hear more about homeschooling, about raising children, and how to really connect with your child and ensure that your relationship is there, and just give you some tools and things that I've really learned along the way. So let's get in. Okay, so today's topic, I'm going to be discussing on how I got started with homeschooling, why I decided to homeschool, and my method and belief behind how I have done it. Okay, so without making this too long and lengthy, I'm going to really try to condense it down super easy. So I do have 8 children, okay, 8. And I do have 1 grandbaby, and I really hope that my daughter does work full time, and I do hope that I can homeschool him too, because that's how much I love it. I have my children range from, 26. I'm going to go ahead and try to do this, okay? Because it's going backwards. It always takes me a little while, but I'm going to try to go swiftly, okay?
26, she's the one who's got my grandbaby Waylon, and she's also pregnant again, so I have a new baby coming in May. So 26, and then, let's see, my son is 23, and then I have a 22-year-old daughter, and then 20-year-old son, and then 16-year-old daughter, 15-year-old son, 12-year-old son, 6-year-old son.
I did it. Okay. So with those ages, when I first began my journey with homeschooling, man, I was a babe, because my daughter was 5 years old and I put her in the school system for 6 months, not even realizing that homeschooling was a thing. I was like, I had no idea it even existed. So she was in school, and man, she had problems with school right out of the gate. Like, she'd come home and she'd pee herself. And that's so rare for Abby. And I was like, baby, you're wet. Your dress is wet. She's like, I know. I was too afraid to raise my hand to go to the bathroom. It was things like that did always occur. Well, then there was some other things that had happened, but seems like typical school fare, actually. And my Aunt Connie, who was really a huge part of my homeschooling journey, who was an inspiration to me, it was my mom's sister. She called me up one day and she goes, Jenny, for heaven's sakes, why aren't you homeschooling, And I don't know if she just felt like that would have just naturally been my bag. And man, was she right. She had it like completely had me pegged. And I was like, you mean to tell me I can be with my daughter 24/7 and I can school her myself? Okay, so I didn't even say goodbye. Okay, I already called up the school, said my daughter's getting out starting tomorrow. Bye-bye. Because according to the Nebraska laws, totally doable. It's easy here, thank heavens. It's no Texas, where you don't even need to let the state know. But it's it's very, very, very easy to do. And so they don't do any testing on your children either, which I think is intrusive, especially if you've got slower learners compared to some of your fast learners. Just one of those things that I didn't want any kind of interference. I probably at that point would have even moved to make sure that I could do this in a way that I really felt was best for my children. So anyway, I didn't have to worry about that anyways, because it's really easy. And so my Abby began, and if you didn't know this about me, I've always wanted to be a teacher. I always wanted to be a grade school teacher. I always did. And that dream never really did happen. So I got curriculum. It was Christian Liberty. And then I got a whole bunch of red pens, because isn't that what you do as a teacher? You correct. Okay. And so I put that in like a mug, that said, I love my teacher. Okay. And then I got, that was all I needed. So then I got fresh pencils for Abby. Oh man, I was so excited. So Abby wanted to do her first day of class in her undies, and that was fine. She wanted to wear boobs and wear her undies. I'm like, fine, let's just be cool about it. It's fine. So we were at our dining room table. That was our school setup. It was so fun. And when my curriculum arrived, I was like, what is this, Christmas morning? So I ripped it open, and you know what really stood out the most for me, that was like the most phenomenal thing in the whole world? The teacher's manual for kindergartners. I was like, what is this spiral bound book of insanity? I was like, I don't even have to do my own math, 5 plus 5. It's right there. I mean, so all of it legit. I felt legit. That was the true. I was like, you know what? This is legit. You know what? I'm teaching my child, and it's completely so like, you know, legit. So there we were. Abby was already bored after 5 minutes. So I got out her book. I was like, wow, this book is sublime. I mean, you know, that fresh text. It's like, you know, even though me, myself in school was one of those C students, okay? Guess what I got an A in? Art, okay? Because I'm an artist, and everything else just went by the wayside. It's just funny how I like the whole concept of school, but yet I just didn't really thrive. So I actually was bullied quite a bit, but I don't know. It was just one of those things that I think, you know why? Because I love children, and I just love being with them, and I love teaching them. And so I thought, because I was so young, this is what you do. You know, I really didn't have much life skill behind me, life lessons, life experience. So I thought, Abby, in the beginning, I was like, okay, for weeks, it was like, okay, let's try no dinner then until you do your math. Okay. I was so serious. Okay. For a kindergarten. I was like, okay. I'm like, wow. Okay. Let me get my red pen, because I'm seeing some mistakes. This is the color, you know, yellow, Abby. Let's get the, okay. I mean, I was really like, you know, with that red pen, it was just beautiful. I felt, well, she didn't have the same idea. Abby did not have the same idea of what, you know, school would be like. She's like, is it craft time yet by chance? You know, when are we going to make Play-Doh like you said? Or can we make cookies? You know, she just was like in La La Land, where her precious mind was on something other than working out of a textbook. I was completely feeling like a failure. I felt like I did not know what I was doing. I felt like, is this even going to work? How am I going to be able to finish this book if she can't even get through 2 problems? I started to do a little bit of investigative work, and I found 2 beautiful books that have impacted my life greatly and my children's lives. And that is by John Holt, How to Teach Your Own. And man, he went through everything about how children learn, and I was hooked. So I really was guided by him through that book of how to look at children and how they learn and how their minds work and how they thrive. And I found nothing but joy and happiness in our homeschooling life, for the most part. You know, in terms of as a whole, okay, I'm not saying that we're just like fairies, okay, with fairy dust everywhere. But I'm just saying that we enjoyed ourselves, because there wasn't any pressures of, you know, you have to get this done. You need to get this done. If you don't, there was just no nagging, that relationship of nagging and doing and hating and doing. And it was more like what the basis of the book was, and another book I read by Alfie Kohn was Punished by Rewards. Game changer. If you're a homeschooling mom, or even just, you know, you're not homeschooling, but as a parent, Punished by Rewards will literally change your life. Okay. Be open, because openness is where you grow. I've been closed-minded, and I know closed-minded, and guess what it does? Stunts your growth. Okay. So be an open vessel. So I began to do that methodology in how I disciplined and how in my relationship with my children, and what we did as an everyday family, by allowing my children to, on a daily basis, we would plan and structure our lives around their interests. So as I had more and more children, there were more and more interests. But in the beginning with Abby, it was like, Abby, what do you want to learn today? What do you want to do today? And she had big lineup of things you want to do. Not to mention, to find things that she's already doing is learning. We always think, and we get stuck in thinking that children can only learn through a textbook, or that children can only learn if someone teaches them. Why can't they learn on their own? Why can't they absorb information on their own? Why can't they learn through the process of baking, or going to the grocery store with you, or going to the bank with you, or driving when you're driving to look at signs and road signs, to interact with other adults and people, and to learn. It's truly beautiful. And they never, here's the beauty. When children, and so basically too, we were developed into unschooling, and where everything is child-led. And so I took that very, very serious. It was like, what are we going to do today? Let's go to this museum. Let's make this Play-Doh. Let's bake this. Some children are like, I want to know my multiplication. Then let's do it. Once they tell you they want to know something, you know it's game on. It's like now their mind is receptive to the learning versus, I hate this. I hate you. That's your child. And I don't want to do this. And you're like, you have to do it or you're grounded for a week. And so that whole relationship dichotomy is so horrible because it causes friction, it's tension, no one's happy, and no one's learning. It also teaches children to think that that learning eventually will come to an end at some point, whether it be summer each year, or then finally when they're 18, they can say goodbye to learning unless they decide to go to college, and then they just like party, and they don't even know what they're wanting, and then they finally hit a degree, and then they don't even do it. So it's kind of like, you know, in terms of not even doing it, they don't even really do what their degree is. My husband's one of them. So it's a matter of, my whole end game was being able to unveil and watch them discover their natural gifts and talents. And from there, we really honed in on what they should learn, what they should do, and where they should go. Now, let's just say, because it's close to home, is me. Okay. So me being an artist, I knew that I was good and that I loved it. I would never say I was good. When I was 5, I didn't know I was good. I just loved to draw. And so I drew and painted. And I ended up, I kept getting really good feedback. And so I just A+'d my way throughout my whole life. And I took also some private lessons from a couple artists. And then I also, there were some high school or colleges that wanted me on scholarship. It was just one of those kind of things. It didn't end up for me that I did go that route. However, it was just one of those things that art was my bag, and I couldn't focus on it all the time because I was in school, and then there was social pressures. But to be able to have your children at home and to be able to see what they're good at and to be able to hone in on those skills, because everything else can then flow in very naturally and they can learn all those things. But when you know what you're good at and you know what you're called to do, those things are what you are to do in your life and your calling of what you're to use and to do. So it's phenomenal and joy to watch when your children find out from a young age what they do love to do. And even if it does take them a little while to develop into it, there is no time limit. They will find it, and they'll find it a lot sooner than you think, especially when that is the whole premise. Another thing that I really wanted to make sure that I gave my children was to respect their own autonomy. I didn't want there to be a relationship where they had to listen to my idea of how they should be. Now, let me explain myself a little bit further. I really wanted them to be able to, and I definitely am no perfect parent by any means, and boy, did I have to go through a lot of failure before I was able to truly get to a place where I understand that and understand some things. And we'll go through different topics and different things. If you guys have ideas of what you'd like to hear, please comment down below. But this is just my process of what I've learned and what I've been doing. And that is to really allow them to make decisions for themselves, to be able to say no to something, to be able to say, I don't agree with you, to say, I don't want to take a bath. I don't allow them to say no. Now, I know, here's an example on even a benign level that you may think, you're like, oh, big deal, but it is a big deal because we as parents tend to do this, and I have done it so many times. It's like, okay, so the child, you get them in the tub, okay. You know how sometimes they don't even want to wash their hair? They're like, no, no. And they scream, scream, scream. I don't know if you've ever had any of those. A lot of mine were. And so you just do it and get it over with, and you don't respect what they say, and that you just don't even care. You don't have time for this. You're gonna wash their hair. Well, you're gonna just let them be dirty, blah, blah, blah. Well, here's the thing. We need to be okay with them being dirty. We need to be okay with them making up their own mind, because in the end, they want to be clean. Okay, it's trusting your children to actually be human. I mean, a lot of times we're like, they'll just be monkeys and they're gonna run around and I'm going to be judged. Okay, that's the bottom line. I'm going to be judged. Okay, look at them. They're filthy. They don't even care. Have they even brushed their teeth? Wow. Okay, well, listen. When you begin to have a lifestyle, though, of this kind of relationship, your children actually do like to brush their teeth. They actually are like, I mean, because sometimes I'll be like, you know what, Brock, I've had enough. Have you brushed your teeth? And then, but they get into this then, you fall into that and you gotta say, you know what, get in there and get your teeth brushed or whatever. But I'm saying majority of the time, my children, I'm like, hey, let's just go to bed. If you don't want to brush your teeth tonight, it's fine. He's like, no way, I'm brushing my teeth. They just have it in them. It's in them. It's in them to want to care for themselves, to smell good, to all of that. Now, sometimes it takes a little bit, but like, let's say with Waylon. Okay, my grandson, I had this experience just recently. He was in the bathtub and he does not like for me to wash his hair. And he's 2. And I said, baby, can I wash your hair? He's like, no. I said, okay, I won't wash your hair. So then I go, and so then I just kind of played with him a little bit. And I was like, well, here's the water. Here's the soap. You want to wash your hair? So to make a long story short, I got him excited about washing his hair. And it was all still his will, his wanting to do. And so I was like, okay, let's wash it. So he did it like, woohoo. I go, watch this. I put a little bit of water in his hair. He's like, ooh. Oh goodness. Yeah. And then, I imagine I really was able to get the rest of it without, it just went, and it was no crying involved. He wanted to do it. And it was a cool kind of thing. If it wasn't going to work, it wasn't going to work. I was going to let the hair go. The thing is, though, is that then every time they get into the bathtub and you kind of work with them again in that way, they'll want to. They will. They'll want to. And you show them fun ways. You're living and you're loving along with them. So that's kind of like what I mean by that. That's kind of right out of Alfie Kohn, of just really respecting your children. It changed my life. It just did, because in my gut, I knew it already. I did. And I remember I was following instruction from people that thought they knew more than me by telling me how I should raise them, what I should do, how I should do this and how I should do that. And if you don't, then you're a bad parent and you have to tell them who's boss, and you need to spank their bottom, and you need to do this, and they need to be structured, and they have to be in boxes, and they have to go to bed at this time, and they have to wake up at this time. And I'm not into that. I'm literally a free ranger. I'm like, you know what? My children beg me to go to bed because they like to know that I'm sleeping when they go to sleep. So it'd be like 9:30, like, hey, you guys, you ready to go to bed? I'm like, kind of watching Food Network. You can go on up if you want. Okay, so it's like reverse for me. It's like, usually, children, they fight bedtime. They don't want to go to bed. They don't want to. But it's like, okay, well, stay up. I mean, if you want to stay up. I mean, to be able to make a decision for yourself is very freaking empowering, isn't it? And I've always thought about this way, and I'm going to kind of go off on this little bit of a tangent, but I think I've learned a lot even from my own upbringing and things that had happened. But if you were doing something, let's say wrong, and let's say you're just speaking your mind, and let's say you get carried away, and let's say you're sassy, and your mom takes something away from you that is precious, that you love, and rips it up and throws it away, or she puts it away for a week, saying, no, you can't do it. Now, I've done that before with one of my kids, where I put something away of theirs and said, nope, can't do it because you're sassy or whatever, trying to teach them how to be good. Well, can you imagine, though, as an adult, I'm always thinking to myself, so what do people do to you when you're sassy? Because dang well, you are sassy too, okay? So should they take away your stuff? I never see there's no cohesiveness in that. It's just hypocritical thing to do in my eyes. And this may really get a lot of like negative feedback, and I don't care. This is what I've learned from all of my upbringing of 8 kids, and what I've seen them grown, married, some just adults on their own, and what I've seen and what the feedback that I've gotten from them. And that harvest is for real. Okay. It's good. It's good. And to be able, and I've messed up so many times and now when I say messed up, it's just, you're trying to figure things out. And, we can't beat ourselves up. We just learn, and we do. When we know more, we do more, and we do better. And just to be able to allow my children the freedom to have an emotion other than happy is a gift. And they can do it, and you can try to help them to breathe through it, or explain out what they're feeling, or what was behind the reason why they acted that way, or why they punched someone in the face, or but looking behind it. I never did I stopped halfway through with my kids of doing punishments of such, like, well, off to the corner, or whatever. And it was just, my whole life was corners. It was just like, oh, psh, oh, psh, oh, everybody was just doing something that I didn't approve of. And, children are just, it's like they're like little robots that you have to like completely train, or you think that they're going to be just wild dogs. They're not. And I am living proof of that for real. And I know you don't know my children, but I do. And I'm just coming from that perspective, knowing that children want to do good. And they really do. And when they do have their moments of when they feel angry, or they are, speaking and, inappropriately or whatever, to correct and to say, hey, there's a better way of doing things. It's just an inspiring way to say things and do things. And you can coach and inspire without punishment, is my point. You're there to say, hey, you know what? Maybe if you did express, it's not leaving your children completely alone and isolated. You're not even there. I'm always there. I'm a living, breathing with them all the time. And what's really great, my children will even say to me, Mom, hi, you just, they'll point out when I am acting like, they're like, wow, Mom, I mean, you could probably breathe there instead of being so mad. I mean, they'll say it to me, whereas children usually, if they're punished, would never think about saying that to an adult, But I'm like, you know what? You're so right. I love being able to live and be with my children as though they're human, like me, to live and to love and to be a blessing to each other and to inspire each other. And I coach them and teach them from what I've known from experience, and they get it and they understand. And there's meltdowns, and there's crying, and there's times I'm frustrated as crap, and I don't know what I'm doing, and I mess up, and I'm a failure. But that's all part of life and the journey and where I'm going and what I'm doing. And it's been so much fun. We have done so much of our learning and our, I mean, there has been so many times where I didn't know what to do. But now I've just learned a lot. And so now I know a lot of what to do. And I guess that's what I'm sharing. And so gone through you do this or else, or you can make that decision you can actually have a want. You can actually be angry, and it's okay. To be able to be in the position to know more and to be able to be better. It's such a spiritual growth experience. It's so joyful to know that you can really have happiness and joy with the relationships with your children. And I really, really, really love that. I say sorry to my children often, and they say it to me. And it's not without force, and it's not without saying, you say you're sorry, or you're going to, have a punishment. It's not a matter of you do this or there's that to pay. It's more of you want to be a better person because that is the highest form of you. That's an expression of who you really are. To be good, to be kind, and to reflect that is who you really are. So it's just more of a reminder. It's instead of a you be good or else. That's something that then children tend to rebel against. And man, am I living proof of rebellion. I know for a fact that I did that all the time with my mom, especially in my teenage years. It was like, if she wants me to do this, then just watch. I mean, I really, it's that striving to make a decision in your own life, to be able to say, I'm going to try this out. And if I fail in my own right, because that's how you learn. And it's like, well, if you really want to stay up late, it's like, oh man, I'm so tired. I ain't doing that again. You can only learn from doing it. You can only learn from actually going through the experience. My children have story after story after story. And they're like, you know what? Thanks, Mom. It was awesome. I know. I mean, I just laughed. Here's the story. My two top teenage boys, they're 20 and 23 right now. And they talk about when the younger years, they would game. Okay. And I never put a time limit on it. And because I wanted them to be able to self-regulate. Okay, now, mind you, I'm around. We're going places, we're coming back, we're here, we're there, I'm there. I'm coming down like, hey, you guys hungry? I mean, I'm there, obviously. I'm changing diapers, I'm juggling, I'm doing dinner, I'm blogging, I'm teaching one kid how to tell time, I'm reading stories over here, I got a couple gaming down here. It's like that. And I would never put a time limit on it. I wanted them to be able to self-regulate. That was the reason behind it. Of course, they didn't know that. They just thought, wow, freedom. It's like, I feel like they felt like they told me now, because I'd never even really asked them about it but they said to me, I just felt like I needed to self-regulate myself because you weren't doing it. So I just remember my boys, we had this chalkboard wall, and they would put up on the chalkboard, Taylor, he would say this for Gabe, my other son. He'd say, Gabe, we need to start, putting times. We've been on it way too long. 1 hour a day, that is it, okay? And do you agree? And Gabe's like, yeah, let's just do 1 hour. So every day they'd make sure they put in their time, and so that meant they couldn't get it, but they hold each other accountable. So we talk about self-regulation. They were like, I don't know, 14, 15 years old, younger, so 12, 15, whatever. And they would self-regulate. And that's the kind of beauty and magic that happens from people from children and humans that are allowed to make decisions on their own lives. What do I want to do if I feel like some of my kids are gaming a little too long? Well, number one, I've got some kids that are so brilliant in some of the gaming that I swear to you, they'd be millionaires right now if I set them up on some PCs and get them on Twitch. Okay. And that is my plan. But also too, to be able to, one of my sons learned to read from Minecraft. Okay. But I also love to distract. So I'll be like, hey, let's go to the museum. Oh my gosh, we're gonna have so much fun. And I'm gonna get some ice cream on the way home. And they're like, yeah, so it's a matter of living and learning, it's relationship. It's living and learning together. It's like, oh my gosh, look at this creation in the museum. Let's go home and do this experiment now. And some may leave and not do it. Some will gather around. We used to do yard work, and we'd see caterpillars, and they're like, guys, we should literally see what this turns into. So remember, we got a butterfly net, and we looked up what kind of caterpillar it was. Then we looked up, what kind of housing. We bought it, put it up, hung it up in the kitchen. We watched it turn into and metamorphose into this beautiful black swallowtails. That's what we had in our kitchen. They were fluttering everywhere because we had all these caterpillars always on our parsley. Their host plant was parsley, and we were growing parsley in our garden. So we always had this right. And then we learned to feed them, and we watched their proboscis go. It was coiled up, and it'd go, and it would drink from our sugar water. And we just freaked. We'd flip, and every time we'd blink our eye, it would come out of its what do they call it anyway? Oh, I forgot. Chrysalis? I forget now. It's been so many years when they come out of their little cocoon. And to watch them and feed them and then let them go and fly away. The learning we did, it can't be beat. It's in my memory bank forever. The bad, I don't really remember any of it. It's because as a whole, it's a beautiful experience. And honestly, I'm still in the thick of it, and I love it. And I want to continue it for as long as I live. I mean, it's like, I love living and learning with children because their imaginations, when allowed to be able to discover and to live and to be autonomous and to have decisions and making skills and to be able to fail, and I'm there to pick them up and in the proper manner for them. Do I say no at times? Sometimes, yeah. Do I, actually, one of my teenage daughters did something that made me lose trust in her. And there was no punishment. But a couple times she wanted to go and do something with someone. I said, not right now. Let's just let a little bit of time lapse. But I love you, and, I don't feel anything against you, like you're some bad girl, not at all. And she just went through telling me how she felt and how wrong she felt, and it was just like, she learned on her own accord. I didn't have to go and punish her for 10 years in order for her to learn her lesson. And you already kind of learn it when you fail and fall and see the effects. And so allow children to fail, allow children to make decisions, allow them to be able to see what shirt, let them decide what shirt they're going to wear. I mean, if they don't want to brush their hair, let's go. If I'm the only good looking one in the group and we go somewhere, so be it. I mean, I have majority sons, and they always had mismatched socks for the most part. Actually, for the longest time, I always wanted one of my sons, especially Taylor. I don't know what it was with him, but he always wanted to dress like a nerd. He's such a cutie, and he always wanted to pull up his jeans up to his boobs and tuck in his shirt and wear a VeggieTales tie and that clipped on, and wear a ball cap. And I was like, listen, are we going to be in the cool club today? Because I really was envisioning more of like a Ralph Lauren tee with these Gap shorts and then your flip-flops. He's like, no. I'm like, fine, let's just go. But, to be able to have that kind of freedom within the safety net of your home and your realm is a really beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing to unwatch and unfold, and to see them learn like this, to see them be able to learn beyond what you think they could ever know is just amazing. And guess what? There's never an ending time to learning. It's called Google. There's never any time when they stop learning. When you're indoctrinated into the school system, you're like, thank God it's over. When you're homeschooled and you're lived freely to learn, when you are desiring to know something, you're like, I'm thirsty for more. I want to know more. I want to know. I'm going to do this. And they're not conditioned to raising your hand for someone to tell you what to do, or not being able to make a move until someone says, okay, do it. They're go-getters, they're leaders. We really prime them up to really own their own business, if you will, to kind of be a leader. And not to say, of course, they get jobs, and one of mine apprenticed. She did nothing. She actually worked to buy a horse because she went into the horse biz. But it's just one of those things where through it all, thick and thin, it's just the relationships that you develop with your children, and it's beautiful. That's all I got for today. I hope that that's kind of given you some insight on homeschooling, especially if you're going to embark on it, or just even having a relationship with your child. The importance of letting go. Let go. It's beautiful. Quit getting such a tight grip on them. They're going to turn out way beyond your expectations, and it's going to be beautiful. Until next time, you guys. Bye-bye.